Stop wasting time doing things that you do not want to do. It feels like you're all over the place, and when you try to work on or become a bunch of things at one time because you're being influenced to see all of this stuff, it's almost like your soul is like all over here when it needs to be brought back here. Whenever you have purpose in this life, whenever you have something that your soul wants to do, or I'll say it in just regular terms, like you just have a purpose, you have a dream or a goal, and you get to choose what that is. Many things will influence you, but you get to make the choice of what you want to focus on. It is yours. But that also requires a sense of identity. Do you have a sense of identity? Because it feels like everything is being caught up, like everything is being like everyone's identity is being like commingled together, and it's hard to separate you. It's hard to separate you from everything else. There's this feeling of like you have to build yourself up to be this thing, and in order to give yourself permission to be yourself, to be like, oh, this is what I want to focus on, you want to accomplish these other things that have nothing to do with what you got going on because it's the right thing to do. Look, there are certain right things to do that make sense, okay? Be responsible with your money, with your, budgeting, with like don't be an impulsive spender. Be responsible with about how you treat other people, how other people treat you, how you show up in your relationships with people. Be responsible of how you take care of your body, your health, your nutrition, stuff like that. I'm not saying you have to be perfect in all of those things, but those are just, things that you should do. You don't, though, have to become a whole something else in order to feel comfortable with yourself. It's like this competing energy happening at the same time. This is what I want to do, or I have an idea of of how I want my life to be, but this is the messaging that I'm receiving everywhere else. And so it's just bumping up with each other. That's the feeling of bumping up. So you might have a like, oh, well, realistically, I should do this, even though I want to do this other thing. And when I say doing what you want to do, I'm not talking about some get rich quick thing. I'm not talking about this fantastical fantasy of you being super famous at something. There's nothing wrong with having global recognition for something that you're good at, but that doesn't have to be the standard for how successful you are, how happy you are. What I'm seeing is this feeling of like, well, everybody around me, or whatever, I said this before, don't let the algorithm control you. Whatever content you're engaging in, feeling like, oh, you got to go become that thing, even though you're really this thing. Also, don't devalue what it is you want to do because you are devaluing yourself. Sometimes people can get caught up in situations where they're feeling insecure. Insecurities are normal. They happen to everybody, okay? But they'll feel insecure, and then they start to lowball what it is that they want to do, what it is that they want to focus their time on. Oh, well, it was probably not going to be as fruitful or whatever. No, it probably is. And you're going to get very, very pissed off if you use that as an excuse to not try, and then you see someone else do, and they actually follow it all the way through 4 or 5 years later. You realize, actually, no. Let me give you an example. There was this really big push to focus only on STEM, in looking at in the US over the past 5-10 years. There's this mindset shift of like STEM related things are the useful tools, the useful intellectual tools in society, because they produce stuff, and the stuff should help us with technology, and it should help us advance. And so some of the more humanities or even social science skills, but let's just make it like, fair comparison. Let's say like humanities, you don't need that as much. You know, there are certain exceptions like philosophy going into law, or you know, stuff like that. But there was this push that this is the only thing that is the most important. So you can see this by the the different countries and what kind of graduates that they have, you know, produced over the last 10 years, if not more. But what we've learned though in modern times, especially when you look at the current administration, is that there are a lot of historians. Let's talk about this that I just said. Political historians who are saying, hey, this or that has happened before, or hey, this is where this rhetoric comes from, or hey, da 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 da. Other people who have been told, okay, it's not important to learn about history, it's not important to learn about cultural history when it comes to establishing your identities or all kinds of stuff, or just understanding how things have worked throughout society. The historians are coming and saying, hey, some of these tactics, they have been done before, and we already know what the outcome is. So do you see how when we take things away from one area and put it all on another one? Now to relate it back to what we're talking about here. Do not diminish the things that are in your heart that you want to do. Do not diminish the things that you feel that you are good at, that you feel that you have a calling to do, because right now society might focus on something else, might focus here, might focus there. There are different realities going on at the same time. Obviously, how we all feel individually, but you got online world, okay? You have in-person world. You got people's individual fantasy world. And you got the world that you co-create with the people around you. So you have to consent to that. So it's like a group of people who are like, oh, okay, like we all believe in this. So you see this in, you know, different types of communities, whether it's like faith-based groups or different like hobbies and stuff, that people will come together to have hopefully a cohesive mindset. Anyway, with that being how society shapes us, what I'm seeing here is you have to fill up the space, or you have to fill up the space with yourself, or you have to make peace with there are going to be some large empty spaces as you are working on whatever it is you're working on. Different things, you know, you can have multiple things going on in your life at the same time. There's going to be different things that are happening at the same time. Are you going to be okay if somebody asks you a question and you don't have the answer? Are you still going to be okay with going on the path? Are you going to be okay if you don't know, like, the entire plan and trajectory of where you're going to go? Because when we look at successful people, or we look at the dramatization of successful people on the other side, it is this romanticized view that they knew, and they knew exactly what they were doing from the beginning to the end, and da da da. No, maybe people felt like, hey, I want to do this, and you know, all of the other stuff, but they didn't know everything. They didn't know everything. And if they knew, it probably was an area in which a bunch of people knew, you know, but we're just going to focus on them. You need to find a way to establish your identity, to remain solid in who you are. You cannot always be swayed by the things that you're consuming online or the people who are constantly around you. Now, I'm not going to do too much astrology, but if you have certain placements where it's easy for you to critique society and still be in society, a placement like that would be like an Aquarian placement. I'm not just saying Aquarius, I'm saying like Aquarian placements. That's kind of like the sign of the revolution. So that's a critiquing of society. Versus if you have this energy of you just want to go run away and you want to hide and feel nurtured, like in a more Cancer placement. Again, there's nuance to it. It's not a blanketed, you know, statement, but it depends on you. You shouldn't force yourself to be rah-rah, but you also should challenge yourself to believe in yourself, to question the things that you're seeing at all times. You know, if when everybody believes in something and it's still not working, you should probably question it. Okay, you should probably question it. Again, maybe the thoughts are like, oh, it's not there yet. But there's one particular area of your life. What came up was health. I'm going to say it, what came across, which was like mental health. During this time, there's a lot of people struggling with mental health things that are coming up. And I think it's becoming more normal. Like it doesn't mean that you are you have to have a very extreme case of something that needs mental health support, but society, it's just not normal. Like, think about it. If you have sleep deprivation, right, it's going to mess with your brain. You're going to go crazy, right? That's just normal. If you know, if you don't drink enough water and then you run out of water, it's going to mess with your entire system. So just like that, receiving a lot of information, or actually I can give you more than that. If someone is constantly talking down to you, belittling you, yelling at you and arguing with you, yeah, when you step away, you're not being yelled at, but it primes you for what you think or how you react to the unknowns of the world. With that being said, constantly consuming information or being around people who are in that world, it doesn't mean the people are mean. That's what people got to understand. It doesn't mean the people are mean. There's a lot of different reasons why people consume different kinds of information, but constantly being around that, it's not good. You have to be able to have discernment to see who has internal balance. We called it a long time well-being, okay? But not even to say it like that, not even to be performative or not even to look a certain way. Just, you can tell when someone is balanced internally. They're not trying to prove anything. They're not trying to convince you of anything. They don't want you to do anything. And they're not controlling. It's easy come, easy go. Okay? Now, when you're young and you meet people like that, it may be boring. You know, when you get older, you start to be grateful. You start to be very grateful for people like that. Because life does so much to people that it can make you just want to just wall out every second, where you're just like, you know. But you have the capacity within you. You have the capacity within you, like even today. So there is some particular area of your overall well-being that is like a tricky place for you. It's not like outrageous, but there are other areas that are actually really easy for you to be able to go in and make changes and to make movement. The issue is that sometimes the motivation is not there, because this one particular area that's very tricky for you is going to take more effort than this other stuff. Hey, I think you should kind of, I don't know if the right word is snowball, avalanche, I don't know. Okay, but I think maybe snowball is the right word, where you start where it's easier. Just start where it's easier and then move through it. And take your time. And take your time. And take your time. I'm seeing a cleansing. Like a cleansing can definitely happen. It's not impossible. There's a feeling of things being impossible, but it's not. It's not impossible at all. It's just up to you. I'm only giggling because it's like, once you get there, you're going to laugh. You're going to be like, You're like, And you're just not going to really worry. I'm not saying that stress is inevitable. Things are going to stress you out. Things are going to irritate. But you don't have to be overly like stimulated all the time. Every little thing. Like you know when you meet people who are in a very high state of anxiety and just everything is triggering to them. They can't even have a everyday regular conversation because their nervous system is overwhelmed. Okay? Sometimes people are born like that, but I feel like a lot of times people are primed into that through their everyday living experience. So if that is the case, they can be primed out of it too. So this requires you to really take the lead and start to reprogram how you think about yourself, how you see, and what you're going to do. Okay? And stop doing the things that you don't want to do. That feeds into it. Stop trying to be somebody that you're not. It feeds into it. Just be yourself. And there will be people who really, really like you for it. And being yourself, it does not mean being popular. Being yourself means that you can just relax in the energy of yourself. That you don't need all this external random stuff. You need certain things of security. We need to feel that we're in a community and a collective. But all that other stuff is just kind of things that we've been roped into to think that are important, that I don't think really are. Okay. Well, I'll see you next time.